This is the second part of my analysis of the album Voodoo by D'Angelo. I was going to do it all in one part, but then my computer filled up with all this wonderful high definition video, so I decided to snap it into two. So the first part, which I released yesterday, go check it out. It's called something like Is D'Angelo's Voodoo a Voodoo Ritual? All about well, really just about the album, about how I feel about it, its connections to different forms of spirituality. It's great. You go check out that other video. That's probably going to be more interesting than this one. But at the same time, I don't want to like just talk about the album without actually talking about the actual album, right? So here's a track by track breakdown from the mind of Professor Sky, as the sun is quite further than it was when I recorded it earlier. I may actually, ironically, be dodging the sun throughout this review, because I have like a little covered deck here, but at times it creeps over, so we'll have to see. So yeah, in this track-by-track analysis, where I ended the last bit was just how wonderful it is that this album is so inscrutable, how hard it is to understand what's being said. I referred to the liner notes, which were co-written by Saul Williams, in which it's referred to as, "You can't understand half of what he's saying. It sounds like Bobby McFerrin on opium," which is pretty funny, and then describes it as the distilled ambiance of Al Green. No, how do you say it? The distilled ambiance of an Al Green song. Okay, that makes sense. The ambiguous sexual majesty of a Prince song. What awesome. And the creative genius of a Stevie Wonder song. I know. Listen, I lost all my Stevie Wonder CDs in the divorce. I bought them. She got them. It's okay. I'll have to restock my library. So the first track of this, that was written, by the way, inside the album notes, right? So it's not like they had no idea what they were doing when they released this. The first track is called Playa Playa, or Beach Beach in English. I get one joke per video, and that's what I'm using it on. Obviously, it's Playa Playa, starting off with this African chant. If you'd like to know the meaning of that African chant, check out part one, especially with just the great playing on the rim of the snare. And this was the first time I listened to it. This is the whole album in one song. You know, this is just one little slice that can tell you everything you need to know, how slowly it develops and starts, and then the entire album just these like Stevie Wonder style keyboards and this voice in the background, shoot your shot, and these just ridiculously stumpy, lumpy little stop and start bass sounds with these horns tracing these little lines. And at a certain point, there's like feedback through like these horns, but all the way through, everything is just such a groove. It's just that the feeling that they tried to get, the feeling that they got, the feeling that you cannot facsimilate. You know, what's that old saying? You can't fake the funk. You can't fake the funk. You can't half-ass the soul. I don't know what it is, but it just comes through right here. Now, I didn't understand the lyrics at all. I looked them up. It turns out this was something he was going to give for the movie Space Jam, which of course gave us I Believe I Can Fly by Don't Mention His Name. So that's interesting that this could have been another classic song on Space Jam, although I don't know if it quite works out. By the way, number one porno title. The porno parody title, Face Jam. I found that funny for about 30 years. Then we get to the song Devil's Pie. So, like, if you told me, you wouldn't have had to tell me that DJ Premier was involved in this, because, I'm a big DJ Premier fan. But yet somehow it's not quite full DJ Premier. There's something about the rhythm. There's something about the way that it's put together, but it's so unlike anything you've ever heard DJ Premier do. The way I put it in my notes, it says primo without being primo. Holy cow, is this bass heavy, just super bass heavy with this ridiculous groove. And this whole verse, that seems to be really about like being in jail, and by the time you get into like the second verse, we've already had like basically what sound like car horn sounds, and then the chorus just keeps on asking why, ask why. And this is a bit of cultural nuance which you might have lost if you're not the age that I am and the age that the age that D'Angelo was. Why ask why was a very popular slogan for Budweiser. Bud Light, Bud Dry. Why ask why? Try Bud Dry. So that's kind of in here. Just kind of a weird sort of intertextual moment. And then at a certain point at the end, you get some DJ Premier style scratching. I think you hear some primo in there. This killer bridge. This just really just moving vocal with all these sounds, and just he like sings and raps this third verse in a way that's just got so much ease. Ain't no justice, it's just us, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Time has come for most of us to choose in which God we trust. He's the son of a preacher. See my first video about it to talk about that a little bit. You got to serve somebody. That's what they say. You can't serve two gods, right? That's part of Christianity. You can't serve man and God. You have to serve just God. So which God are we serving? We're serving the God of money. Ain't no justice, it's just us. Okay, I literally have to dodge the sun. Excuse me, I apologize, but I'm going to get like a little sunburn on this part of my... I almost muted myself. It's a lot harder not to do that than you would think. And this clapping at the end, it's just so wonderful. The way there's this clapping and the singing of the chorus all together about I thought it's all a lie. It's all a lie for a slice of the devil's pie. It turns out the lyrics are actually all in line, but they both work. And basically at the end, the horns sound like the horns in another DJ Premier song, kick in the door, wave in the 4-4, all you heard was Papa Don't Hurt Him No More, right? The song off Notorious B.I.G. It has those kinds of horns at the end, that kind of primo DJ Premier rhythm, but just this ridiculously heavy bass and the falling sounds and the thematics. If you watch the first half, I kind of try and draw a sort of idea that this album is an effort to resuscitate spirits of past black art, and in particular like going all the way back to Africa and sort of like going over the ridiculous cut from past civilizations represented by the transatlantic slave trade, and then also that it's an album that's really trying to respond to how free market capitalism hurts black people and reduces their art and their essence to just merely transactional, merely just a question of dollars and cents. And so this is a great manifesto against that. And then we get to maybe my least favorite song on the album, which is funny because if this album had come out, if I was paying attention to this album, if I wasn't too butthurt by not having six-pack abs, I probably would have skipped right to this song because I was such a Method Man fan. But you got this great sketchy guitar line that leads right into a really fairly standard Redman, Method Man interweaving verse. And I love how integrated it is. I love how much D'Angelo just... Sometimes when people do guest appearances, they just send over their bars, and then they record the bars and they say thank you very much, and then they go home, right? That's not what this is. This is like just completely interwoven. But the lyrics, man. Liar, liar, set your pussy on fire. They're all just super misogynist, from Redman and Method Man. They're all just kind of super misogynist, and to me it takes away from a lot of the intimacy of this album. Someone mentioned in a comment that the reason that I couldn't get this is because it is a place of black intimacy. To that I say, fair. I totally believe I can't get that. But this just seems to me to be at odds with the rest of the album. But then D'Angelo kind of saves it because he has a sexy verse, but he makes it actually sexy. What do you want? Smack your ass, pull your hair. I'll even kiss you down there. You know that I will. You think I won't. Like, that's what women actually want. They don't want to be told that their genitals will be set on fire. At least I don't think so. Maybe there's things about women I don't know. But saying that you'll smack the ass and pull the hair and go down there, that's good. That's good practice. But the rest of it, I don't know. It's just a reminder that I think Method Man is a really underrated rapper. And I think part of it may be that when he was at his commercial peak, he was at his artistic lull. It's just a little theory I got going here. Then we get to, Then we get to the line, this is where I'm trying to figure out, like, is this more like Al Green, or is this more like Curtis Mayfield? I can't quite tell. It feels very Curtis in my mind because it's so socially conscious. It seems to be a third person story. or a story about somebody in the first person that is not D'Angelo, just a kid who's lost to the devil's pie, someone who's just trying to live a life of crime and make it by. But it's just this impossible groove on the bass, just impossible. And the drums are just so far behind. Digging the Greats really emphasizes the grooves on this album and how connected they are to the sense of Dilla time, which is a complicated idea, but the easiest way to think about it is like rhythms that are just enough off that you register that they are a bit off, but they are not so off that you don't have rhythm, that it doesn't work. It is at the absolute limits of the groove. It is, as he said on Digging the Greats, the widening of the groove. And that's just what you have here. And it's just so beautiful. And the dynamism of his voice, he gets so excited. I got a bullet. And he gets all quiet in the chamber. Just, oh my God. I did one listen where I tried to just describe each thing that his vocals are doing throughout the entire song, but I gave up halfway through. Here's the result of my efforts. Starts off doubled a cappella, Al Green. He interlocking double he's with a second voice. A single voice, Marvin Gaye style, let me tell you about it. And then there's some talking voice in the back. And then there's kind of a doubled what's going on style voice for the first verse, then goes up high with just one of the voices, and then a bunch of them, all of them, maybe 10 of them, I don't know, I'm saying I know at different times, and they kind of fall out of rhythm with each other, and it's like he recorded them at different times and was trying to see when he should drop them, and then when he mixed it all together, he just included them all because why not? Because I'm goddamn D'Angelo, and your sense of rhythm and time and space needs to be expanded. We are living in the time of click tracks. We are living in the time that is before AI, but is laying down the tracks for AI for all of us to accept that everything will be the same. Everything will be quantized. Everything will be logical. Everything will be able to be mixed from one song to the next without even noticing that the DJ changed the song. I know. And then just one, heh, pulls you right out of it. You're sitting there and you're hearing all these songs, and if you're trying to take notes, if you're trying to be a good music critic like I am, you're trying to take notes and you're trying to put together all these songs, and then just, hey, I'm gonna hold on to my pride. That's where I gave up, was on the hold on to my pride. Just so beautiful, and lets the bass take over at the end. Send It On. Apparently this is an interpolation of Kool and the Gang, which, I have a Kool and the Gang CD. I think it's in my car. Man, you ever listen to Kool and the Gang? They are so good. I didn't pick up on them till like I was in my 30s. I knew the Jungle Boogie, all that stuff. But man, you do yourself a favor, get some Kool and the Gang stuff. Almost kind of a gospel sounding beat here. More this multiple harmonies. Sometimes when I listen to this album, I am struck dumb. Dumb meaning unable to speak. Like I'm having a hard time describing what is it. So let me tell you an experience. So I was listening to this album for the third or fourth time. I'm so busy right now, I basically never get to go to the gym. I want to go 3 times a week. I go on a good week once a week. I'm just too busy, just with my work and the 2 kids and the 2 other kids and all this stuff, right? So I got to go to the gym on Friday. And I got out of the gym and I was underdressed, okay? I'm wearing just like shorts and t-shirt, and it's a cold fall day in Rochester, New York. And I walk out, and for some reason the clouds are just putting on a cloud show. They're like high and they're low and they're far away, and some of them are storm clouds and some of them are not. And the wind is blowing through the Buffalo Bills flag. They're probably getting beaten by Charlotte as I speak. Like the flag is going, and it's this huge parking lot, and the sun is beaming, and there's a certain way when the sun is beaming and it's cold, it's this feeling of fall. And I just had this feeling of happiness and aliveness, and I just felt so grateful for my life. And then I was thinking about this music I was listening to, and I was thinking about the fact that this man died. This man is my age, whatever, I'm 48, he's 51, same difference. And it made me really sad, but it also made me appreciative because I was in communion. Okay, if we go back to my other video, I felt like he was on my shoulder, okay? I felt like the Loa of D'Angelo was on my shoulder telling me to appreciate this life that I have, to appreciate this family, even though I'm so busy I never get to go to the gym, and I just want my body to look like D'Angelo's in that video. But at this point, I'll be lucky if I have like a Tim Allen physique, and I'm just sitting there. And for whatever reason, I was typing into my phone this experience, And I don't know what I was trying to say, but the words that popped up were, "Son is born bird." So, I don't know. It turns out the song was dedicated to his newborn son, which, listen, this is 25 years ago. So that meant he got to be with his son for 25 years. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. But still, it's too young. It's terrible. Tell me, what will I do? Send it on back to you. Send it right back to you. Your soul is in me. Your soul is something that I feel inside. So, being a parent, being a father is amazingly weighty. It's really heavy. And the hardest thing to think about is leaving your kids too young. That's the hardest thing to think about. So this song has like all the power and the joy of knowing you're a parent. I've got a 3-year-old and 1-year-old in there, that joy and that feeling. But then with this passing, it's like the horror of having to leave, knowing that you're leaving your kids. Anyways, what a song. Because it's send it up to you, right? It's like he's sending it up, like to heaven, right? Like he's... And then we get chicken grease. Okay, chicken grease isn't going to make me cry. Apparently this is in reference to Prince would often talk about chicken grease guitars, like just a certain kind of dirty sound, which is the kind of thing where it makes sense even if you don't understand it, right? Like I didn't grow up eating soul food, right? Look at me. Me? No, right? So, but I understand that it's something dirty. It's something kind of tasty. It's something kind of greasy, like that's what you want on your guitar. You want some chicken grease. Again, Digging the Greats has a great video all about how this is using counterpoint, a very well done video there. It feels like he's kind of goofing around. This sort of reminds me of a James Brown song, Mother Popcorn. Like it just feels like, it's not as tight as that song, but it feels like it's just really messing around with the groove and trying to figure it out. I'll wait till I've mastered this, let the others go so the brothers won't miss. Fried it till it's burnt and crisp, so we cookin' so the funksters can raise a fist like this. Love it. All these guitars doing nice little fast strumming for a couple seconds and then asking for chicken grease. Listen, I feel religious feelings when I hear this song. I feel spiritual power in this song. Hey, also, you want to do something fun? Listen to the Lotto song, Chicken Grease. She also has a song called Chicken Grease. It's a good song, but it's fascinating because it represents everything. It represents everything that D'Angelo was fighting against. Like, D'Angelo was fighting against over-commercialization and a blind subservience to capitalism. And the song's all like, I won't F any broke guys, And it's not very musically ornate, and it's pitched, and it's pocketed, and it's voice corrected, and it's rhythm corrected. And it's all those things that you don't like, right? It's all those things you don't like. But also, it's a good song. It's a good song. I doubt that he would look at it and say, this is trash. It's just not what he was trying to do. I think we need to live in a world where we can have chicken grease and chicken grease. And once you've done that, look up Chicken Grease Prince on YouTube, and you will find like this 20-minute jam of Prince and the Revolution just playing a jam. And the first words is Prince saying, put some chicken grease. That was my Prince impersonation. Of course, the way Prince actually talked. He had the lowest voice in the world when he actually talked. One Mogan is a song. I know Two Mogan, but no. One Mo Again. Everything But the Bass, I guess, is played by D'Angelo. I guess the bass is by a guy named Paladin. The super duper bass heavy song. Super burpy. It actually kind of reminds me of a Timbaland production at certain ways. In the way it kind of has this burp, 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 has that kind of like burpy feel on the drums, but then it's the catchiest song with the do 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 do, like this song is so long. This album doesn't care. I sort of got into this when I talked about this idea of the album being like a voodoo ritual, but it's like Voodoo rituals, like they're not trying to get you hooked. They're not trying to write songs that get stuck in your head. They're trying to put you into a place. They're trying to get a spirit into the room. They're not worried about time. There's no A&R looking over a hungan's shoulder saying, hey, pal, I love it. But you got to bring the spirit up in 3 minutes and 44 seconds or else we don't got a hit. They're not going to play this on Jammin' 94.5. They just let this roll. They just let it roll. There's like 3 minutes before the first word is sung. And then when the words are sung, it's finally the clearest lyrics in the whole album. And it's a great breakup song about missing somebody you used to be with. And I hoped by chance I'd see you once again. I'd love to kiss your lips, baby, once again. I'd love to hold you tight, girl, one mo again. Beautiful breakup song. This instrumental bed at the end of this, and this super low growling sound. It's great. And then we have a little unexpected up-tempo funk jam thrown on at the end, which makes me think, hey, Estate of D'Angelo, you know what you got to do. You need to make Voodoo sessions. We're talking 78 hours, okay? Just 78, that's all I ask. Just give us 78 hours of studio outtakes. Just give us everything, all right? Give us everything. You can charge us through the ass. We don't care. Just give us everything, all right? Because we know it's out there. And then we get to the root. Again, so much of this feels to me that the lyrics are so unimportant, but the titles are. Like the root, the line. So many of these things are about like just some kind of groundedness. If you watch the Digging the Greats, he has a whole thing with Charlie Hunter, who's playing this like 8-string guitar, playing the guitar and the bass at the same time. And wow, it's amazing. Great kind of drums, kind of jazzy, steady bass, unbelievably loose. And then we have a backwards guitar solo. So I don't have my copy of Are You Experienced here. But my favorite guitar solo of all time is the guitar solo to the song Are You Experienced by Jimi Hendrix and the Experience off of the album Are You Experienced. And it's a backwards guitar solo. And I don't know how it's so transcendently good despite the fact it's backwards. And that's what this makes me feel. So many voice layers. Then we get to Spanish joint, kind of creeping in bass, these superb drums. Again, I think Questlove should get co-billing. I think this should be D'Angelo and Questlove present Voodoo. I know it's kind of sacrilegious, but it really feels like this is two people working together. But Questlove himself probably doesn't want that, so I'm not going to make him do that. I'm not going to put that on him, Ricky Bobby. But this is maybe the most worked song, the most kind of like structurally worked song. This is like if you have a friend who's like a jazz head, you play them this song. So I have to dodge the sun yet again. 1 second. All right, listen, I am just snake bitten. I had to move around the microphone all the time because I was dodging the sun, as Tyler the Creator says. And then I kept muting the microphone. So I just muted it for like 2.5 songs. So I'm either going to edit this into the original, or if I can't figure out how to do that because of my technological problems, I will just have this be an addendum. But anyways, so I just talked about Spanish joint. Okay. And by the way, I just need to make an apology to Toure, because Toure, I made fun of him once saying that I muted my mic like him because he does that sometimes. And I think that I think that created bad mojo for my channel because I always mute it. So anyways, where was I? Feel Like Making Love, which is a nice break after the looseness of Spanish Joint. It's a little bit less loose, it's a little bit more structured because it's a Roberta Flack cover. Roberta Flack is somebody very comfortably there in my kind of white spot, my probably somewhat misogynist white spot where, I've listened to a lot of Al Green, but never Roberta Flack, so I'll have to go back and check that out. I'm sure she's great. What I like about this is, and I talked about this outside the original version, and this is going to get a little awkward, but sex songs are difficult for me. So you might notice this about me. I like to think a lot. And so I cannot be intimate and listen to music at the same time. It's just, I'm too busy thinking oh, that was an interesting choice for the drum beat. Oh, wow, this is really well structured. Hey, I wonder who produced this. Is this, I can't help it. I can't disengage. And, when you want to be intimate, you want to be very connected to the person. You want to be having a oneness together. So I've basically not been able to do that, I even knew one lady who liked to have like TV on in the background, and that didn't bother me because I can ignore TV, right? I just whatever, that's just that. But like music, no way. I got to pay attention to that. But maybe the problem is the music I was listening to was not transcendent enough. Like music like this, where it sort of matters what they're saying and sort of doesn't, where it has this kind of ritualistic feel to it. I could just be listening to the wrong music. It could be. It could be that my main memory of this attempt was "They Might Be Giants." Tell me in the comments if you can think of any song any artist less appropriate for making love. Anyways, so I do like that aspect of this music, and that is a part of his music and a part of R&B and soul that has always kind of escaped me because I want to be present, and I can't be present if I'm thinking about guitar tones, But I just love it. I love the muted horns. I love the fun of the horns, a little outro jam. And then we get Good Day in the Morning Booty. Just what a song. My God. A little more chaotic, more falling apart. The snares with this nice little double snap, snap. And this deceptively simple chorus of good days, bad days. I'm still halfway days. I'm still looking for a great day in the morning. The idea of like how to process life and live it, it's just absolutely beautiful. This great outro jam with the shuffling bass and drums, just great. Just great. And then we get to the song Untitled, How Does It Feel? Now, I'm going to cut back to the rest of my commentary on this, but I'll see if I can remember the things that I didn't say or that I said while the microphone was muted. Once again, I apologize to you, Torre. Have you seen Torre's video about the Soulquarians, about the Neo-Soul movement? Have you heard Torre describe what it was like holding hands with D'Angelo? This wonderful, erotic but not homoerotic story that he's able to tell? Touré is a goddamn national treasure, and I made fun of the man for muting the mic, and so I'm still paying. I'm still paying for it. But it made me think about my whole rant about the video and about feeling insecure and all that. In a way, D'Angelo suffered from what can also be called Chris Isaacitis. So if you don't know Chris Isaac, he's this great kind of rockabilly guy, super handsome, also an actor, and he had this song, the theme song to Wild at Heart, the David Lynch movie. And the song, No, I would never fall in love. Bow, wow. Everyone knows the song, but the video completely dwarfed the song when it came out because it was him basically naked and having sex with some kind of supermodel, and it was hot, hot, hot. So I don't know. But the main way that I feel about the song, and I'm going to get into it, but this is the point where the spirits have arrived. If the whole album has been a voodoo ritual, which I said it was in the last album, this is the moment. Because this is a pop hit that shouldn't be. It's a pop hit that shouldn't be, but it works out of context, but it works better in context because we've been going through this and we've been in this kind of trance, this kind of ritualistic trance. And then with the arrival and the great Prince-style screams, we are finally going to have the Loa, the spirit, the ancestors make their appearance. And a lot of the way they're going to do that, I believe, is through laying down the proper things for the incantation. Most importantly, the guitar tone. Now let's go back to my video. How am I going to edit this together? I'm so frustrated. All right, so. Oh no, did I just mute myself? Okay, I might have muted myself. Hopefully I just did it right now. If not, this whole video is destroyed and I hate my entire goddamn life. Oops, did I just mute myself? Sorry. So we're talking about the guitar on Untitled, okay? Back there you see my Stratocaster. I've had it for 32 years. It's the guitar that Jimi Hendrix played. It's the guitar that Jimi Hendrix made famous with his guitar tone. You don't believe me? Listen to the song Little Wing by Jimi Hendrix. If you've never heard it, it'll change your life. You hear a Strat and you think of Hendrix. This is Raphael Saadiq playing it. I assume it's Raphael Saadiq because he's like the other musician on this song. Another singer who I mainly know for his physique, but it's only because of you, God, and it's yours, super freak physique, like Raphael Saadiq. I've been saying that for years. But I think that like this guitar tone, this is the equivalent of putting out the correct fruits and vegetables and drinks for the loi to come join you in the spirit, to come join you in the ritual. I think that's what this is. And it just builds, and it's so epic, and it's so long. If I called it Black Stairway to Heaven, would you get mad at me? I think I get mad at myself, but I wrote that down here, so I'll just say that and then back away from it. And then you actually listed lyrics. Who has ever been listening to lyrics because you're too busy looking at his things, the things on his, what do you even call those things? The like lower ab plates, whatever. I love to make you wet in between your thighs because I love when it comes inside you. I get so excited when I'm around you. Jesus Christ, D'Angelo. He's already dead. She's already wet. God damn. This is great. What a great song. What a great song. What an amazing song. What a great apotheosis. What a great lifting moment. And again, the lyrics do matter, but they also don't, because I think it's this emotional moment. I think it's the Stratocaster. How is it possible that this is a pop hit? How is it possible that this is a pop hit? What did we do to deserve such great music in this crappy culture? And the audacity of calling it Untitled, like totally avant-garde. Right around this time, Blur released their song Number 2, which was the same kind of idea. That's woohoo, and I feel it every metal, woohoo, and I feel it every metal. The song for hockey games. But it's the same kind of idea, like not even going to name it. And just the crescendo, and it builds, and the Prince screaming, and then the tape cuts off. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful, because it's too long and it's too short at the same time. It is, going back to my sexual reference, kind of like sex, Like good sex is too long and too short at the same time. Yeah, God, man, I'm getting too personal. But you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean by that? It's like... Anyways, like you never want it to be over, but it sure has been going on for quite a while, right? That's, you know what I'm saying? Look at me. I'm turning into D'Angelo. Yeah, but it's great. I love that it cuts off. And I know there's reasons that it actually cut off in the studio and all that. And they were like, well, the Beatles did it with I Want You. It's so heavy. And it's true. And it pisses me off when the Beatles do it. And it pisses me off when D'Angelo does it. And I love it. I think it's great. Then the album ends with the spiritual center, Africa, this gentle lullaby to end us, to help us go to sleep. The snare with the snare turned off, so instead of going pah, it goes thunk. This is way more kind of Curtis Mayfield-y, by the way, that kind of soulfulness. And these lyrics about Africa being his home and about being sort of lost in America, but I'm getting sunburned, by the way. I can no longer dodge the sun. This thing doesn't move around anymore. No longer is he like, he's not in his home. He's not in his spiritual home. He's in this iniquitous land of white supremacy and all that. And so he's talking about it's the whole thing I've been talking about with the voodoo thing and the whole thing in part one. I'm talking about like the cut from the past. And that's true. Everybody of African descent who lives in the Western Hemisphere has been cut from the past, has had a huge machete taken to their... all descendants of enslaved people all have a huge machete cut to their family tree, and all they can see is what they hope is there. And that's the past. So that's how the song starts. And don't make me cry again, D'Angelo. Then he talks about the future. Then he talks about his son. From which you came was love, and that's how it should be. You are my soul and one through all time and history. So that his son is Africa, the mythical place of heaven in many African-derived religions, this place that was taken away from. And so his son becomes like his mythical, inaccessible past and is his eternal going forward future. What more do you want to say? Got some chickadees over there. Chickadee-dee-dee-dee. Some bird sounds. I like that. Some rain sticks. And they just keep singing thank you. And it feels like he's saying thank you for life, thank you for his child, thank you for the spirits, thank you for everything that he's just made. So that's it. I think I'm done. I hope I did not mute like half of this whole goddamn video because I will lose my ever-loving mind. I don't need to end it on such a negative point. Sorry. I've just been so lost in this album. I love it. Thank you so much. Please smash the like bucket, subscribe, and you can join me on Patreon if you want. I really appreciate, I feel very lucky that anybody cares at all what I have to say about anything. And the fact that you care this much for me to talk about something that I didn't know about before, I feel like you get me, you know, and it feels good to feel gotten. All right. Well then, until next time, I'm going to get to some new music. There's the camera.